Hi there. Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here tonight, Monday night, time for another episode of Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. It's a show I've been doing. I think this is the longest running show I've been doing, in which I take an album that is greater than 15 years old and has a high standard with me, a 2, a 1, or a masterpiece. This album is definitely in the 1 category, and like this band for a long time. So we're talking about Triumph's Progressions of Power, their 4th studio album. This was actually, I believe, I've been trying to figure this out, but I think this was maybe the first concert I was ever at. So the first concert I ever went to was at Maple Leaf Gardens. I can't remember if it was Triumph, Black Sabbath, or if it was Rush. One of those three were the first. I actually seen all three at Maple Leaf Gardens that first year that I was listening to going to concerts and stuff. I think these were the first three that I went to at that venue anyways. But anyways, the Triumph one was definitely in there. If it wasn't first, it was in the top 3 for sure. Seen them twice in concert. I also went to the Allied Forces one at the Mistake by the Lake there. So enjoyed them both. When I went to the one on the Mistake by the Lake, I had a friend who was there with me, had a camera. He took some great shots. I have a great picture of them somewhere in my picture discography. One day I'm going to look through there and see if I can find it and give you a show. Anyways, this was released in March of 1980. It's on the was recorded at the Phase 1 Studios in Toronto, of course. Excuse me. About 41 minutes or so in length on the Attic label, and of course Triumph produced this album themselves. Appearing on the album, of course, Rick Emmett on guitars, some synthesizers and vocals, Gilmour on bass, Mike Levin on bass and keyboards, Gilmour on drums, percussion, and lead vocals as well. So yeah, really solid album. Probably for many years it was my second favorite, but because I didn't get the CD for a long time, I had originally the vinyl, and when I moved out, that went with my sister's collection. But as the channel has been growing, I've been trying to reclaim a lot of those vinyl albums that I got rid of, and this was definitely one of them. Progressions of Power from Triumph, their 4th studio album. So you've got some really classic Triumph stuff on here, like I Live for the Weekend and I Can Survive. These are 2 of their bigger hits. I think I Live for a Weekend only made it big in England, though, and I Can Survive was probably one of their biggest hits as well. In the Night is kind of a bluesy, kind of a vocal, emotional song, and then Nature's Child, of course, is one of my favorite by Triumph. It's fantastic stuff. A Woman in Love, yeah, another good tune. Take My Heart. This is another kind of almost a ballad-like song, really kind of slow acoustic guitar and just singing his heart out here, which Take My Heart is a good title for it. Tear the Roof Off, another heavy track. I wouldn't call any of what Triumph does heavy metal. I know some people label them as that. I don't think of them as heavy metal. I think of them as hard rock, but very hard rock. Fisher Taken, which is kind of an instrumental as well. And then you got The Hard Road. This is a kind of classic emotional song. I mean, the difference between Gilmour's voice and Emmett's voice isn't really not all that much. Emmett has a more high-pitched, almost, it's a natural sounding, not so much like Roger Hodgson's, but a little bit more like John Anderson's. Doesn't sound like either, but his Emmett's voice seems a little bit more real, whereas Hodgson's is a little bit more falsetto. But I could be wrong. Maybe he's singing falsetto too, but he's so good at singing. Gilmour has a more mainstream type vocals, but just absolutely spectacular. Doing a lot of the kind of bluesy stuff that Triumph, that rock and bluesy stuff. He's much better at that, I think, than Rick Emmett. Although Rick Emmett has his stuff too, so they're just really, for a band to have two such solid vocalists is pretty amazing. There's not very many bands out there who have such solid vocals. Even Rush, who's my favorite, I think, as much as I like Geddy Lee's voice, I think both of these guys have better voices than him. Yeah, this is a solid trio. Probably would have been Canada's #1 trio of all time if not for Rush. However, still really good. Those from about their second album right through to so far to Never Surrender. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums anyways, maybe 6. Once I start listening to that, I'll let you know. Yeah, just an amazing run of albums. All of them were really good. A lot of their later, like a lot of their stuff like Allied Forces and Progressions of Power and Rock and Roll Machine and even Never Surrender, they've all grown on me over the time slowly. They didn't do as well. They didn't come out of the gate blowing things up like they did on Just a Game, which I think is absolutely one of the most amazing albums of all time. Probably for about 35 years of my life, it was probably my favorite album. So yeah, Triumph, Progressions of Power, some real killer heavy stuff on here, some bluesy stuff, some ballad-like stuff, a little bit of everything. Kind of very similar in some ways to Just a Game, but I think Just a Game is just better than this. But there's a lot of similarities between the two albums. So Triumph's Progression of Power. Please hit the notification bell if you wish to be notified of the next episode of What's New. What's New next week. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That helps the channel. If you want to make any comments about Triumph, about their discography, or about anything I've said about them, you can do that in the comment section below. And we will be back again next Monday for another look back at a classic rock album. Take care.